Welcome to a repertoire testing video. We have black against a 22-22. I did try to record a few days ago, but first of all, I played a very short game against a player who kept disconnecting, and then my second game was against a cheater. So that was a bit of a deterrent from playing for a few days, but we are back today playing against an English. And okay, they're delaying knight f3, so I'm not sure if I want to play knight c6 right away. It's not bad if they give up that bishop for a knight, but I might skip to e5, try to wait for knight f3 for one more move, and then play knight c6, I think. And if they go straight for this, I mean, could play bishop e7, or I could again just go with knight c6 and say they're welcome to take, because I don't know I want to delay that much longer. If they start building up pressure on that c-pawn, like knight c6, rook c1, bishop d7, support the knight, and then I'd be ready to play b6. So I think we'll say if they want to give up that bishop, they are welcome to. Okay. And if queen a4, it's alright, we can defend that pawn, but they should have light square weaknesses on their king side now. Knight could come back to d5. Don't think they would take that, fix the pawn structure. They could still try to pile up on this c-pawn, but I don't know how far they'll get with that. Okay, so probably not queen d6, knight e4. Probably just bishop d7, and then wait with this queen. Most likely. I might be a little unhappy about the c5 pawn, I'm not sure. I've played this kind of setup a lot. Those of you who have studied the course know that it's a very compact way of learning how to play against the English, because it's very contained within a few lines. But okay, I do need to be worried about this knight e4, because I don't want both of these pawns to just start falling off. Sort of considering rook b8, but they can always solve that with b3. Otherwise, it might even be f5 just to stop knight f5, and then I can also play queen f6 afterwards. So I think I'm okay with that. Because yeah, this is a very unusual way for white to play it. I don't think they've done anything that should be that big a problem, but I may need to be cautious about how I handle it. So bishop e7 or bishop d6, because we want to protect this pawn. Normally the bishop just sits on e7. Is bishop d6, bishop g5 bad? Queen d8, probably fine. And if queen f6, bishop g5, then I think queen e6 might be a reasonable square, or maybe even knight e6. We'll start with this. Overprotect c6. Part of our point is this knight doesn't really have a good square. Like if it could move, then we'd be more worried about this pawn being doubled up on. But it really can't, and I do also have knight e6 to support this, and two minor pieces should be enough to protect that pawn. They would need to get, I think, one of the knights on it, and that's not easy to do. I might also be able to play f4, because that will push that bishop back, but that would open knight e4, which I think is not great. That is a big reason we played f5 in the first place, was to cover that square. Okay, so I'm developing this bishop. I think I would say bishop d6, and if they play that move, attacks the knight, also attacks this pawn. So I think knight e6 seems fairly obvious, although they might play knight a4. There is an option for knight b5, but if they play a4, the knight has to move. Might be okay, but there also might be something with the e5 pawn falling. So knight e6, knight a4. Is that difficult? I could play e4, try to chase this knight. That might open an attack on b2 as well. It's tricky because double isolated pawns are always weak, and I'm not sure I have my full compensation for them, because knight a4 I think is definitely the planned follow-up. And I can't just allow a straight bishop takes c5. Okay, I think we'll have to go with this and see where it takes us. And I mean, if I lose one pawn, it's probably fine. Like if I just develop the bishop castle, I'm sure I can work with that. But I can't lose two pawns. Like I definitely can't lose the e5 pawn as well. So let's say we push. Take, knight d2. Not threatening to take b2 because of this knight. That might be asking a lot. Is it worth pushing? Make them play bishop takes? I'm not sure that's worth it. Tough. Not really a knight d4 either because of knight takes. Oh, how do I want to handle this? This is tough. Queen d8 doesn't quite work. I think it's probably just bishop d6, and then we'll play down a pawn. Because I don't expect them to play bishop takes. But if we go knight takes, but then the bishop on e7 is kind of hanging. My concern is getting through this without losing e5. Like c5 pawn, if I lose that, that's fine. I think I can work with that. But I can't afford to lose e5, which is why I really don't want to trade off this bishop if I do not have to. Okay, so how stupid is it to let them take on d7 and play king takes? I can't really come back to e4. The knight's on too many points. Knight takes, bishop takes. Can I play e4 at that point? I don't think so. I was considering something like rook d8, but the a7 pawn is also hanging. But I'm having some difficulty because of this bishop. Maybe we will do this the crazy way and play king e7. Or do I have a more productive move where I'm still letting them take? Probably, but I don't know what it is. Well, we'll be crazy. If knight takes e6, I'm not running to bishop g5 because I can take with one of these two. But knight takes, king takes. We're going to try to argue the king is safe enough, and that even if they want to castle kingside, then we might have some ways to break in. Something like, again, this e4 and h5, h4, like, there's play. But this king is not a pretty thing, for sure. But I've played worse. I mean, my center pieces are reasonable. My rooks, unfortunately, have been very slow to come into the game. Clock, as always, is a mess. But maybe my default move is g5. And then we can try to ram in f4, g4, stuff like that. They can't play bishop c5, which I like. I think if this bishop got traded, I would be more concerned. But they can't effectively do that because this knight on e6 is actually quite good. And if they attack the c6 pawn, one of these rooks comes to c8. I'm not entirely sure which. If I'm planning to be ready to attack on the king side if they castle. If they do that, yeah, it attacks this, sort of threatens queen b7. So I should probably give a second pawn, let them take on a7. So then we can block with the rook, and then it will be my turn to start pushing. It definitely doesn't look pretty, but there's still room to play. Okay, queen has to go back on the a file, or b6. And then it's probably still g5. Is f4 any faster, any more effective? Not sure. Don't feel like I'm in love with e4. I don't think that gets me very far, because then I can't chase this bishop off of e3. Okay, well, let's start with this. I need a couple of faster moves, so let's do this. Try to support f4. That doesn't feel like it helps them, does it? I mean, they get to play knight g5. If I play f4 first, take, probably this. And if knight g5, we can play f4. We trade knights, kind of unfortunate, but I'm okay with that. But I need to open space in front of their king, I think. Not the perfect type of game for these videos because I don't get to think things through very well, but I think we're going to go ahead with this. Possibly shouldn't have allowed an 84, but okay. Ah, can I take on? No, I don't think I can take on g3, unfortunately, because c6 is too weak. But I really wish I could. Maybe I can. We're going to be crazy. My position's kind of bad, so we're going to try something erratic. I do hope they take the rook. Okay, they don't, so we have to keep this protected, I think. I was hoping for bishop takes, queen f2, king d1, knight d4, and then I'm attacking e2. This is less good, because now I'm getting pushed back towards playing defensively. I'm attacking c1, which they probably noticed, but figured that was worth attacking. Keeps the queen active, don't just want it to sit on e7, but it's getting really hard to move. I'd like to play rook a8, but then I lose c6. Yeah, that's fair. I'd love to get in queen e3, but there's this bishop. Knight d4 isn't good enough. Still kind of a mess, but I think my king has become the more unsafe one, regrettably. And they could also take on d6 whenever they want to. I guess we did cover f7. Didn't really notice that, but that's probably a good thing. Yeah, this knight, like similar to the bishop on e3, it's very hard to chase now because I don't have a pawn that can get after it. I don't really want to play king e7, give up c6, maybe. Hard to imagine that being good. Yeah, this knight is just too strong. At least I still have this knight on e6. I think that is giving them some difficulty. It's annoying for them. Can't play anything to c5 because there would be some queen e3 check eventually. And they're burning a ton of time trying to figure this out, which is great. Can we run from that? No, because our bishop is hanging. So I think we have to block. And it's still really ugly, but I'm not really threatening rook a8, unfortunately. There's queen b7. Queen b7 now might actually be strong. I guess I'd have to move this bishop. This is not great. I think I want to take this first. I don't know. Total mess. Might just be losing c7. Yeah, I am. Just rook f7 is very good. But there was bishop c5 that I was worried about, unfortunately. Okay, so we have to give that. Rook takes, we'll play rook f8. Try to create something, but it's really not there. Because we certainly cannot afford to trade that. And rook f7 is probably smart, so that they don't get anything on the f-file, but I guess that's probably good enough. Do I have any way of attacking? I don't think I do, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't think so. Well, that's unfortunate. So where did we turn out here. Because I believe this is fine. Like our point with the English is we play knight f6, we play d5. It's very easy to get started that way. And then we're looking for this setup where e5 is good, where we want to have these twin pawns on c5 and e5. And I was starting to get concerned about if they kept piling up on c5. Because usually you would respond to something like that by playing b6. But as long as this bishop is open, we obviously can't do that, which is why I was trying to get the knight in the way. So is it bishop e3? That's the real deviation, or is it d3 already? Some d3s, like occasionally they will avoid knight f3 for a while longer. Definitely by here they normally do play it, but this is a very, very different setup. And knight c6 does not seem to be brilliant. Because, yeah, those pawns do just get really weak. And, I mean, they did play a very good game, it looks like. Just the one inaccuracy and a very strong graph. But, yeah, we are supposed to be patient and not allow that. And then I was checking on this, yeah, because we need to be ready for this to be attacked. Which is why it's giving knight d7, and then rook b8 is definitely a theme as well, because once you get off that diagonal, then again you can play b6 comfortably. So this just overprotects this pawn. We don't need to rush with the bishop on c8. We can castle whenever we want to. I mean, eventually they will have to move this knight since they aren't really getting anywhere here. Again, if they play some knight a4, then we're in time for this. And then if we go castles, then I mean this is not far off what we want. I'm not entirely sure how that evaluation sort of slipped back, but those are the concepts we are generally supposed to follow. I mean, 0.3, like, if it settles at 0.3, fine, but I don't think it's even supposed to be that high, assuming that what we're doing here is correct. Eventually some b6, bishop b7, it's fine. Knight on c7 can be a little odd, but I really like playing these positions. And yeah, we're already getting to, if they have to play bishop h3 to be any better, it's a great sign, because I think very few people are playing bishop h3 here. But knight c6, yeah, not sound, unfortunately, because they do pile up on all of this. Yeah, even already, it's better to let them take that pawn right away. Because if we do this, takes, bishop d7, queen has to move again, queen d5, queen a6. Like, there are definitely lines in this setup. Not many, but a couple, where we do end up sacrificing a pawn. Or you might end up sacrificing a pawn. I don't know if our lines guide right into it. But yeah, it just got very difficult. Like, somehow they just kept attacking stuff. Which, I mean, it's good. It's the philosophy we try to play by. We are just losing that pawn. King e7. It's not amazing, but I really didn't like my other moves. I guess bishop c7. I sort of understand, but I don't really know what we're getting by pushing that queen around. Like, the challenge is if I could castle here and not have this bishop hanging, that would be great. Like, if we could go castles, and like rook d8 or something, is that okay? No, I guess, because we're still losing c6. Yeah, that's the thing. It's just, things are too shaky. I'm not able to hold it all together the way I'm supposed to. But king e7, they can take that. Queen a6. I mean, again, it's already very difficult to call out good moves. If you want to say rook b is best, sure. Even then, we're almost at +3. That's why it's only an inaccuracy and not a mistake, is because there's not much that you can actually say is a lot better. h4, yeah, they're one out of character move. A little surprised they didn't play bishop b6 right away, because I think the same concept should apply. Yeah, they can definitely play queen a7. But then h4 first. We were right about g4 for what it's worth, but again, not much we can say past that. Like, it's hard for me to criticize this section of the game because the problems are definitely much earlier than this. So I'll probably go back and re-examine where it really started to fall apart. Because yeah, again, I'd love to play something like rook b7, but c6 is hanging. I'm trying to resist playing rook c8 because I know it isn't very good. If they take on c7, okay, well, I was justified for this. That's cool. So this was the idea I illustrated, where we are really attacking this pawn now. threatens mate, so I figured, yeah, they'd probably have to play rook e1, and then I hadn't fully worked this out, but I figured, yeah, we should have something that we can get going with this g-pawn, because we are protecting c6 with the knight. That's really important. The bishop is moved off of b6. That's why this whole concept works. And something like an e4, I would be ready for a move like queen e1, and then promote, and then, I mean, this is an absolute mess to evaluate during a game, but we do at least have play against the white king. It's not just the black king who's falling into something. Yeah, I have to play a move to attack e2 again, and then is it turning into a perpetual somewhere, or are they giving up a queen? Like, what's going on? King doesn't want to allow queen takes d3 check. What's the biggest drawback there? I guess they just have a lot of things kind of lying loosely as well. So let's say this, queen b2. I don't think we can take c1 yet because of queen f7, but we can trade queens. And after all of this, it settles into, sorry, not knight takes d6, knight f6 check. Yeah, because they can't just go into a couple pawns down, but they can do it this way. And this is roughly equal. So that's what I was going for, what I was hoping for. And I mean, I don't think every player is going to resist bishop takes c7, so I thought it was worth a shot, but they did rightly take pawns, and then, yeah, then they just get in one or two more pieces, or really all of their pieces. The knight achieves its excellent square, and then there just isn't a way to defend, obviously. Yeah, I guess bishop c5 does work as well. I was going to say rook f7, though. That's very silly because my king is there. That's what I forgot about. Because then we just take that, obviously. Yeah, my rook doesn't actually have anything to do on the f-file. This bishop, unfortunately, still guards the whole diagonal, so there are definitely a lot of ways for white to win there. Okay. So, back to our starting point. This is the easy takeaway, is I think most of the time you're going to want to remember that we don't really want them to play bishop takes knight. I think I had said that during the game, is that we don't love it. That's why I played e5 first, for sure, as opposed to knight c6, and then it's the same sort of concept. But we really do want to delay this, it seems like. And yeah, I mean, 5 plus 5 is not a ton of time to evaluate the way the shape of the game is going to go, or what shape it's going to take. Yeah, I just didn't fully click into, I guess, knight d7, rook b8. I've definitely seen that kind of move order before, but wasn't thinking of it here, unfortunately. A lot of unfortunate things about this game, and then, I mean, it's just hard to defend. If bishop d7 starts sending us down, that's not great. I guess it would probably be here, as f5 is where it gets really difficult once we cross that +1 mark. Knight e6, I guess, but if they still play knight e4, then there's no way to really protect this pawn. I don't think we ever want to play queen b6, walk into that kind of pin. And rook b6, I mean, we're letting them take 2 pawns. This is very difficult stuff. And they aren't even necessarily supposed to take either. They can just play knight f3, and then I don't know, just gets tough for black right from the start. So, I mean, it's great that the game boils down to an opening takeaway that is supposed to be our big focus with the series, but it's rare, I think, for me to misplay this Symmetrical English. It's normally very, very suited to me, but just got a little hasty to develop the king's or queen set. And again, the point is that I was worried about pressure on this pawn, but we can just make our way towards castling, and if they keep focusing on that pawn, we do have ways to protect it without falling into trouble. Rook b8 just allows us to play b6 whenever we have to, and then once we get to a point like this, it's pretty well stabilized. Okay, well, we will leave it there. Commend our opponent for a very high accuracy game. Thank you for watching our English video. Unfortunately, I think this is the first loss that I'm posting for this series. There might have been 1 or 2 other ones that I thought were just low quality games, but anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll see you for the next one.